close to you.
Welcome to the S.A.A.M TellUs TV Show. Today is May 12th, 2020, and we are broadcasting live from Atlanta, Georgia, through Status Network. Whoa!
All right, then.
Just seeing if y'all paying attention. So we're broadcasting live through Atlanta, Georgia, through Status Network, the future of broadcasting. We are broadcasting live now on Facebook, Roku, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, Amazon, and a plethora of other social media platforms. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to the S.A.A.M TellUs TV Show, where we discuss any type of subject, promote any type of business, cause, platforms discussion, special guests, any topics of discussion. When you want to discuss anything or promote your business and causes and events, S.A.A.M TellUs TV Show is the place to be. Today we have our special guest again, Queenlarosa Harden Green. Isn't she fabulous? Isn't she fabulous, as always? So thank you so much, Queen, for being here today.
My pleasure.
And we're going to be talking about, again, the coronavirus, because unfortunately it still exists.
Yes.
And we're going to also be talking about, again, sexual assault awareness. Last month, April 2020, it was literally Sexual Assault Awareness Month. But unfortunately, it happens every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month, in any city, any state, any nation and country worldwide. So to me, it's a topic that I'm going to be discussing for I don't know how long, because again, if we reach one person on each show that gives them the strength to tell someone that they are being sexually abused, then our mission has been accomplished.
Yes.
So always, if ever you are a victim of sexual assault, molestation by a family member, a friend, a church member, a neighbor, or by anyone, please reach out and tell someone and ask them for help and assistance, because someone is always there to assist you with that. And then also, let me pull up this information right quick. I want to pull up, again, I want to define what is sexual assault. Sexual assault is any type of sexual activity or contact, including rape, that happens without your consent. Sexual assault can include non-contact activities such as someone flashing you, exposing themselves to you, or forcing you to look at sexual images. Sexual assault is also called sexual violence or abuse. Legal definitions of sexual assault and other crimes of sexual violence can vary slightly from state to state. If you've been assaulted, it is never your fault. I'm going to say that again. If you have been assaulted, it is never, ever, ever your fault. And the predator is always going to tell you to not tell someone because they are afraid, and they'll tell you things such as, oh, they're going to turn me in, or things like that. Don't believe them. Don't believe them. I mean, someone is going to turn them in, but then they'll say, oh, I'll be in trouble. Of course they'll be in trouble. They need to be in trouble because they are sexually violating you, your body, your mind, your spirit. Tell someone that you know you can trust. And if you are moved as a child somewhere else to another home temporarily or permanently, and those people in that home begin to sexually assault you, tell it on them as well. Always tell, always tell, always tell. And briefly, what does sexual assault include? Sexual assault can include any type of sexual contact with someone who does not give their consent, such as someone who is underage as defined by the state laws, and has an intellectual disability or is passed out, such as from drugs or alcohol, or unable to respond, such as from sleeping. Any type of sexual contact with someone who does not consent. Also, any type of rape, attempted rape, sexual coercion, sexual contact with a child, fondling or unwanted touching above or under the clothes. Any type of sexual contact that you are not giving your consent, you have been violated, and you need to turn that person in. Now also, let me go to the next page here. What steps can you take to be in a safer social situations? What you can do if you are assaulted, or if you find yourself in a situation that feels unsafe, it is not your fault. It is not your fault. Sexual assault is never the victim's fault, no matter what they are wearing, drinking, or doing at the time of the assault. You can't prevent sexual assault, but you can take steps to be safer around others, such as listen to your instincts or gut feelings, look out for your friends and ask them to look out for you. And try not to go many places by yourself if you can prevent that. You really want to try and prevent that. And meet first dates or new people in public places. And then also, if you've noticed at the bottom of the screen, I'm providing a number where you can call the sexual assault hotline. So always keep in mind and be aware. And unfortunately, those who actually assault us, unfortunately, it's usually someone that we know. So you always want to be aware of that and be just, if you don't feel safe around a certain person, again, follow your gut instincts. Follow those instincts. It is usually never, ever wrong. That's one good thing about that. And then also, let me pull up this number. I want to give you that. And it's really unfortunate that we have to even talk about a topic like this. But unfortunately, it exists. It's never really going anywhere. So therefore, we need to make everyone aware as much as we can on what they need to do. Now, the National Sexual Assault Hotline is 1-800-656-HOPE, 1-800-656-HOPE. That's 1-800-656-4673. And the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 800-799-SAFE. That's 800-799-SAFE. That's 800-799-7233. Each state and territory has organizations and hotlines to help people who have been sexually assaulted or abused. These numbers can show up on your phone bill or in history. So try to use a public phone or a friend's cell phone. So you really want to be aware of what you can do. Again, don't ever be afraid to speak up and speak out, because when someone is sexually assaulting you, and again, they're touching you inappropriately, and you did not give your consent, you always want to speak up and turn that person in. Now, Queen, last time we were here, we talked about, unfortunately, some of the sexual assault situations that you were involved in. Would you like to continue discussing that and add to that, or even more so elaborate more on what we were discussing last time when you were here on April 14, 2020?
Sure. Good evening again.
Good evening, good evening.
When it comes to being assaulted in any kind of way, it truly isn't never your fault. There have been times that I've been told that it was my fault or I caused it. Mm-hmm. And I know that I was a child, so I couldn't cause those things that were happening to me. Mm-hmm. And I know today that we have to make sure that our young people and our teenagers and our young adults, male and female, know that no matter what situation that they're in, mm-hmm. that they are not responsible for pain that's inflicted on them by another person. And as S.A.A.M just said, the 90% of the times when it happens, it's somebody that you know. Mm-hmm. And in my case, all the time, it was somebody that I knew. Recently, I had to share about a situation when I was going to school, mm-hmm. and one of my perpetrators was on the actual model train when I got on there, and he ran up to me like everything was all right, and I had to tell him he was lucky that I didn't have a weapon of some sort, because I might have hurt him.
Yes, totally understand.
And I'm thankful today that I might see somebody that might have done something to me and it doesn't bother me, because I don't have to let my past dictate my future. And for anyone else that's experienced, going through the pain of molestation and rape, you have to come to grips with that situation. You have to come to your truth in it. Yes. To know that you are not the reason that those things happen to you.
That's true.
Because you're a male or because you're a female. It's because somebody is sick.
That's true.
And they either need help and or jail. It's no excuse for taking advantage of anybody. And when you look at the situation and you look at statistics, right now while we're sitting on this television, somebody is being molested, probably by their own father.
That's true.
And that's sad. We live in a world today whereas that no one's safe. And it reminds me of a part in The Color Purple. My favorite movie.
Yes, that is a favorite.
And she tells Harpo to beat her. And she said, "You told Harpo to beat me." She said, "A girl child ain't safe in a house full of men."
So true.
Nowadays in times we see that a man child is not even safe in a household of men. So we are not safe even as adult women when we go out. You know, we decide to have a good time nowadays, and times, you know, people decide they want to put stuff in your drinks when you're out at the clubs. You know, and I tell my granddaughter, she's 23, I tell her all the time, if you leave it, leave it. You don't need it once it's left behind.
That's true.
And buy you another drink, you know, tell them to throw that one away. And most of the time, sometimes some of those people that you call friends, you know, they'll do things to you because they're jealous of you.
That's so true.
So just, we have to be mindful of it, you know.
Now,
when I think about molestation, I think about my supposedly cousin and the way that he used to beat me up and stuff all the time. And just like I say, you know, I thought it was all right. Because everybody don't live like that. You know, some children not even safe with their own parents nowadays and times.
So
and you hear it enough. You can't, you know, I can't stress it enough that, you know, we don't need to leave our children at home. You know, male or female. You know, not even with their little best friends. Because I don't even trust the best friends or the friends that playmates no more.
Amen. You can't.
So
you can't. Well, let me just interject right quick, because we have one of our audience members posing a question for you, Queen. They said, Queen, what advice would you give to a family where children were sexually assaulted for generations, trying to stop the family secrets and the generational trauma? What advice would you give to a family where children were sexually assaulted? The generation.
Tell somebody. You got to tell somebody.
That's true.
You know, the mama might be separated from the children. The daddy might be separated from the children. This better be separated from your daddy or your mama than for you to keep going through that pain and the horror of being mistreated. Because 9 times out of 10, if you're being molested, they beating you before and sometimes afterwards. You know, so tell. You know, I remember the commercial on TV, it's okay to tell.
Yes.
It's okay to tell. You know, it's too much going on in this world for you not to be able to tell. And if the person that you tell don't do anything about it, and sometimes when you tell the person, that person might turn around and molest you too.
Exactly.
So make sure when you tell, in the process of telling, make sure you have somebody that to listen and somebody to be there to listen to the listener.
Exactly.
So you need at least 3 people there: you, the listener, and the person that supposedly might help you.
Exactly.
Because you know you don't want to just tell anybody. You know, because you don't want to put yourself in a position to be abused or molested by the person that you're telling.
Now, what would you say to someone who has been molested for so long and so many years, they've grown to like it? And it happens, you know. And what could you say to them? I mean,
what I can say to them is this. It happened so much to me that I thought it was right. I thought that everybody in the world lived like that. Until I became a young adult and I saw it. Oh Lord. I saw this family. You know, one of my classmates whose father had children with her and her sister. And I said, it's something wrong with that. That's not right.
You could just
and I had an awakening. I had an understanding to know that this is not right. So what's happening to me couldn't be right either.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so my mom carried me somewhere after I finally told her, and I started getting help. And sometimes you have to get outside help, you know, after these things happen to you. You know, and I stayed in therapy, and they put me on medication and all kinds of stuff. You know, I walked around like a zombie for years.
I could imagine.
You know, because I didn't know what my real truth was. You know, see, I was so messed up with all those different things going on with me that I thought was right, and it was all wrong. So when I got a chance to understand the difference from the truth and a lie, I was confused, and I was like a zombie because I couldn't deal with reality, what real was.
That was a lot to deal with.
You know.
Now, one of the fans has also posed, there's also a lot of stigma around unwanted sexual gestures towards men. And there's still a lot of stigma as it pertains to men being sexually assaulted as well. So, and that's normally not the norm. So what do we think that would consist of? Someone being, male being sexually assaulted.
I believe I shared the last time that my aunt's husband who molested me, I believe he molested my brother also. And my brother turned out to be gay.
Right.
You know, that confusion, I believe, came from him being molested. And because he had girlfriends. I mean, some fine girlfriends too.
Right.
Some good-looking girlfriends. And I believe that a lot of times that confusion comes from them being molested, you know, also. And
that makes sense.
It helps for them to get some help also, because that's a painful situation also, because in the process of me being molested, I had some things happen to me in a situation similar to what would happen to a man, and I just don't understand it, you know, but prayerfully, you know, they'll get some help.
Yes.
Get some outside help.
Thank you for calling the S.A.A.M TellUs TV Show. Thank you so much. Please state your name and what city you're calling from.
Hi, good evening, S.A.A.M. This is Cece calling from Bronx, New York.
Hi, Cece, one of our faithful callers. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you all doing this evening?
We're doing fine. And are you doing okay amongst this coronavirus?
Yes, prayerfully. Just taking precautions as I need to leave my home. But, you know, thank God that, you know, all is well and I'm healthy and just safe here. So, you know, thank God for that. I did want to touch upon something that I believe Ms. Queen mentioned. And it's a question that I wanted to ask you all's opinion. Do you think that seeking outside support such as therapy is very helpful in situations like this? You know, when anyone experiences trauma, it's good to kind of seek professional help, but I wanted to know what are your, I think you touched on it briefly, Ms. Queen, but you all's thoughts about the importance of, you know, going to therapy because, you know, whether this happened, you know, 25 years ago or 5 minutes ago, you know, it's still very traumatizing, and we often tend to relive our trauma. But I think in order to kind of continue to be survivors of the trauma, therapy is needed. So I just wanted to kind of get you all's opinion.
I think therapy is needed. I know a lot of people don't think they should go to therapy. And unfortunately, we live in a society where we can't even afford therapy all the time. I'm not aware of if there are any free therapists that provide therapy for free if you don't have insurance. But again, if you have a means to pay for the therapy and you can open up and be totally transparent, I think therapy is very much so a positive. I really do, especially if it's something, if the sexual assault, the memory of that, even if it was a decade or 2 or 20 or 30 years ago, if it still bothers you and affecting you, then yes, you need to get some type of professional assistance and help. You know, even if you can talk to your pastor, even hopefully. And of course, you know, they normally give guidance, you know, counseling for free. So if you can't afford it that way, you could go that way. But what do you think about it, Queen?
Well, during the time that I first started therapy, we had been going through family counseling, and the program that we went through family counseling, they referred me to a therapist, And that's how I started my healing process. And it is good for therapy because I have not, and I can say now, I always had bad relationships based on what happened to me. And after going to therapy, I was able to be in a relationship and not worry about what had happened to me in the past, because I dealt with my past and it no longer dictated my future. And that's speaking from my experience. I experienced being able to walk in my own truth after going to therapy and knowing that I was not a mess. I was not junk.
Of course not.
That I was something, and I was something special. And I was worthy of love from another person. That it didn't matter what people thought about me or what they did to me. What mattered was how I felt about myself.
Right.
And how I loved me. Self-love.
That is so true.
Okay. I wanted to touch base on what you mentioned, Sai, that, unfortunately, so many people do not have health insurance or just simply cannot afford, co-pays to see a therapist. It can be pretty expensive, but I know that there are several resources out there that provide either low or no cost services. And like I know a lot of churches also to provide services around just wellness, overall wellness, whether it's mental health, physical health, but just wellness, and just ensuring that one is able to get the support that they need. But I can send you a couple of the numbers that are for here in New York City. But
excellent.
Even just working or just speaking to your pastor, that's always good to have that support. And I think it's there's nothing that's too expensive that will aid in your overall well-being. So but I like Miss Queen said that thankfully that she was able to, through family counseling, referred for individual therapy. So I definitely think it's needed, especially for children. In the school system, they have counselors and guidance counselors and social workers that are free of charge. So, hope that if anyone is listening tonight that knows someone or a child, that they will, hopefully use the resources that are there in school, even though school is out now due to the corona, but there's a lot of telehealth services where you're able to speak to someone, whether it's on the phone or through FaceTime, just to ensure that, you all get that support that's needed. Because, again, even if there's so much that we tend to carry on to the next generation, because of the trauma, and, they may not have experienced the assault itself, but just, kind of reliving that vicarious trauma through that parent or, the sibling or the cousin, whatever. It's also very traumatizing. But this is a great topic, but I think I hope that people will know, like with that support number that you provided at the bottom, just be sure to really reach out and use your resources, or just call anyone and ask for help, because it's really important, especially with the coronavirus. Or, we're all kind of, I don't like to use the word stuck inside. We're safe at home. And we're seeing an increase of like domestic violence and things like that.
And sexual assaults. And I wanted to pose that too, that acknowledgement. Unfortunately, since a lot of the children are at home, and some of young adults as well, they're being abused mentally, physically, and sexually, even more so because they are at home. And I understand the mentality is, usually you feel as though you don't have nowhere to go, especially if you can't financially provide for yourself 100% and you're dependent upon that person financially. And this is from an adult's perspective. Because, I'm sure some people be like, oh, God, how could you stay there? But when you literally don't have anywhere else to go, a family member or a friend, being homeless doesn't appeal to most people. So I can understand being trapped like that. And when you're stressed like that, and it doesn't even have to be with sexual assault, you know how it is. When we're stressed with anything, we don't think straight. We can't think clearly. We can't make plans. You know, I'm the same way. When I get stressed out about something, I'm like, wait, I can't think, you know, and it's true. It's literal. We can't think. So can you imagine living that? Your mind just shuts down. You can't plan. You're not loving yourself. You don't feel as though there's any way out. And then again, you're scared to tell someone because you're like, just because you tell someone don't mean they're going to provide a home for you.
Exactly.
You know, and then unfortunately, normally when you go live with someone, even if it isn't for sexual assault or sexual abuse, you know, people have a tendency to, as they say, kick you while you're down. You know, so there people really, unfortunately, can be between a rock and a hard place. So I totally understand that. But with this coronavirus, yes, there is a spike definitely in sexual assault and physical abuse. And that's so unfortunate. You know, so that's why we always want to give a kind word to someone. And again, if you even think something is going on, you know, pull that person to the side one-on-one and whisper to let them know, hey, you can call 800, what is that number again? You can call 800-656-HOPE. 800-656-HOPE.
And here in the city of Atlanta in Fulton County, which Fulton County is the biggest county here in the state of Georgia, and in Fulton County at one time they had free counseling through the Fulton County Department of Public Health. I'm almost positive there is somebody that they can send them to speak to through Fulton County. Good. So that'd be the Fulton County Department of Public Health, and it's a lot of different health components under that umbrella.
Different
programs. A lot of different health components underneath that for the county department of public health, and it's important that we, as individuals, or those of us that have those minds to notice things, because I can be in a grocery store and I can hear a child screaming and yelling and a person holding on to their hands. I'd be ride my little cart. Yeah, I'd be like ride my little cart over there trying to see why is this baby crying like this, you know? And they go out, they stop, can get them to stop crying. And that child go on out the store with them in a calm manner, I'll be all right. But if that child continue to cry, I'm going to be right there trying to see what's wrong with them, because we never know what's going on. Yes, it's it is not a good feeling when you see somebody in the store or going out of the store with some child and they crying like that.
Right.
Now, another thing that, again, I can't say this number enough, National Sexual Assault Hotline, 800-656-HOPE. That's 800-656-HOPE. That's 800-656-4673. And again, and it says, how can I get help after a sexual assault? Again, after a sexual assault, you may feel fear, shame, guilt, or shock. All of these feelings are normal, and each survivor can feel a different range of emotions at different times in the recovery process. Sexual assault is never your fault. Again, say it again, sexual assault is never your fault. It may be frightening to think about talking about the assault, but it is important to get help. You call these organizations anytime, day or night, and again, the calls are free and confidential. The National Sexual Assault Hotline, 800-656-HOPE, and the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 800-799-SAFE, 800-799-SAFE. And again, it's so unfortunate that with the coronavirus, that which is going on right now, it's going to make the abuses and the actual assaults be tenfold. And that's so unfortunate.
Yes.
It's so unfortunate.
And the sad part about it is that there's no escape for the children.
Yes.
You know, a lot of them, school was their escape.
That's true.
They were at school longer than they were at home. And it was almost bedtime or dinner time when they get home. And a lot of them not even eating dinner.
Yes.
You know, because they don't have any food, because
so
the parents are addicted on the drugs and stuff. And it hurts my heart to know that our children are being subjected to a lot of pains, that there's no one that they can cry out to now because they're not able to go to the school teacher and the teacher could see a bruise or see something's wrong with a child, and I don't know what to do when it comes to, the situation of a child being in a place where they don't need to be at.
Right. I understand. Hold on. Thank you for calling the S.A.A.M TellUs TV Show. Please state your name and what city you're calling from.
Hello, hi. This is Savannah from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, hi, Savannah. How are you? Thank you so much for calling, honey. I appreciate you as always.
I'm doing well. How are you today?
We're doing fine. We're talking further. We just touched on a little bit of the coronavirus just for a moment, but mainly we're still talking about sexual assault awareness. And also that intertwines with the coronavirus, as Queen pointed out, with the children being home more so now. Due to the coronavirus, unfortunately, they're being assaulted and molested even more so right now.
Right, I do agree. So in the state of Ohio, I work in the education, but in education with the public schools here, and that has been a big concern for the safety of our children. So in some cases, the protection's not going to be there as it would if they were coming to school. That is the reality. That's the actual fact. However, the system has things in place. For example, you have a list of kids, and then if you already have like a social worker or someone you have been talking to therapy, they're checking in on a regular basis. They're supposed to. So that's one thing. That's a good thing that's in place. But I am worried about the ones who hasn't really been detected, or the ones that's not on anyone's radar right now. So those children there that are suffering there. And in addition to that, women that are being abused as well, domestic violence. So that's a big thing right now. Because a lot of people here in Ohio, some things started opening up today, but a lot of people that they're working from home. And in addition to that, the suicide, people having more suicidal thoughts. Depression issue, anxiety issue, so all that goes in play. But yes, my heart definitely goes out to the children that doesn't have any protection right now. So yes, it is a huge issue nationwide, worldwide. That's the issue right now.
Now, one of the listeners, well, first I want to give a shout out to TJ and Loria. Thanks for watching, ladies. They're from our prayer line. And then also I see Cece has provided information for New York. At First Corinthian Baptist Church in New York City, you can text WORTHY, WORTHY, to 741-741. You can text the word WORTHY, that's WORTHY, to 741-741 to access their 24-hour, 7-day-a-week crisis text line, and a licensed counselor will respond to you. So again, if you're in the New York City area in one of those 5 boroughs, you want to text the word WORTHY, WORTHY, to 741-741 to access their 24-hour-a-day crisis text line, and a licensed counselor will be there to respond to you. And of course, you can also call, 911 nationwide, or in New York City, you want to dial 311. And again, but TG and Loria, thank you, ladies, for watching. Love you all. Thank you. Look, share the video on all y'all's pages so everybody can see. And more importantly, too, ladies, if you know anyone, and I'm sure you all would as well, if you know anyone that you feel is being sexually assaulted or molested or abused by their spouse, a husband or a wife, they both get abused. It's not always a man beating on a woman. It's also a woman as well, unfortunately, beating on or degrading. Abuse can also be mental abuse, just talking down, verbal abuse, talking down to them, or playing psychological games, negatively impacting the way you feel about yourself. That is a form of abuse, So again, it's not always just physically being hit. It can be mental abuse. It could be physical abuse. It can also be financial abuse by not providing you money as a spouse or a caregiver for what you need to use money for basic needs, such as soap, food, clothing, anything. There's so many forms of abuse. Anything that someone does to you that they are just not supposed to be doing to help uplift you, but they're tearing you down all the time in any form or fashion, that's a form of abuse. That's a form of abuse. And see, Tamika is on here. Tamika Johnson. Hey, honey. Oh, that is TJ. I'm so used to calling it TJ. So it just says Tamika. She's on here as well. And then Gloria said, you're welcome. And then also you want to make sure, and we want to emphasize that a wellness check is needed if you suspect abuse. That when you call 911 or 312, that will prompt 911 to check and inspect the home for any type of abuse. And again, you can also call and report someone anonymously. You don't have to give your name. I've called on people when I've heard, especially in New York, oh my God, it just seems like this one guy and his wife, he was just using her as a punching bag. And one day it literally sounded like he had thrown a TV or a lamp at her or something. And I just couldn't take it no more. And I called the police. I really did. And I left, but at the time, and then my roommate saw, well, my ex-husband, he saw the police had handcuffed the guy. And of course, she's so silly and brainwashed. She's like, oh no, don't arrest him, don't arrest him. And they said, ma'am, it's too late now. We see the bruises on you. It's too late. And sure enough, they arrested him, and then I think within a week or so, maybe 2 weeks later, that person had moved out. So,
and it's not all right. It is not all right for somebody to beat and use somebody like a punching bag. I remember in one of my relationships, I was dating this guy that, of course, we was drug dealing, trapping and stuff, and he would always end up in jail, and I would always end up at home, and they sentenced him to prison, and he ran away from the halfway house, and I was down to some friends of ours' house playing cards, and he came in and drugged me for 2 blocks. And he beat me all night long because he said that I had no business playing cards with those people.
And for that, he thought that, wait, hold on. Savannah just texted on Facebook. She said, wait a minute, I have a question.
No.
Go ahead, Savannah. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So I don't want to hog up your time. So I do have 2 questions. The first is, being an educator and working with the youth and just being around people engaging, what are some signs that I can look for? And I know all the time it may not necessarily be that a child is being abused. I remember the guest that you had last week was talking about how she just became so angry. And I've had students that are so angry. I'm like, what is wrong with you? What is the problem? And so I'm not saying every student is being molested, but however, I would like to know what are some telltale signs, things I can look out for. So if I see this, I definitely don't take it personal. Just know what's going on. So is there anything that you can share? Some advice of things that I should be looking out for?
Yes, it's usually always, well, anger is one of the signs. And not to say that every child that's angry is being sexually abused, but that usually is one of the main telltale signs.
And they fight boys all the time. That was one of my parts, one of my things. I would fight the boys.
See?
I would try to take out on them because the male counterpart was always doing things to me, so I'd always be the one that would fight her. I mean, all he had to do was get near me, and I would start fighting him. And that was a part of the anger. And I'm the same person that was here last time. I just got a different hairdo.
Exactly.
It was great.
But it was anger. That anger was I couldn't beat up the men or the grown men that had been doing the things to me because I was afraid of them. But I wasn't afraid of those little boys at school because I would beat them. I mean, I always stayed in the principal's office for fighting the little boys, and I didn't deal with girls. Period. You know, I didn't have time for them. They was too messy for me, but I would always be fighting. And that was my way of protecting myself, I guess, at school. And another way that you probably could, another sign what you could probably look at is sometimes they always be loners. They're always by themselves. They don't socialize. They're antisociable. And because that's what I was. I'm talking about from my perspective.
No, but that's the
how I
norm,
was. That's how I was.
And any type of drastic change in behavior, such as if their grades are going down, things like that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, children that have been sexually abused sometimes become sexual abusers themselves. So you have to watch out for that. And again, and it's because, well, they've been sexually aroused, you know, unfortunately. You know, of course, you may not see that, but they're just any drastic change of behavior, any like outbursts, things like that, change in grades, even changing in the way that they dressed, you know, especially if it has happened to a person. Oh, say for instance, it began to start happening to them in junior high, then all of a sudden you see them not dressing so cute or handsome, because kids will have a tendency to try and make themselves not look attractive because they feel as though, well, maybe if I dress this way, and I'm not attractive, then that person won't molest me anymore. So even the change in the dress attire and things like that, or even if they used to be involved in school organizations and sports, but for now, for whatever reason, they're not playing the best that they can, or they pull themselves out. You know, so any type of change in behavior that just is about face, those are things to look at. You know, even if they don't want to comb their hair and things.
And they'll withdraw a lot of times, because I remember times that I would withdraw, and I would be, sometimes I really actually as a child would be depressed.
Of course,
you know. So as an educator, ask questions. That's what I would say.
Yes.
You know, are you all right today, Sarah? Is there anything that I could do for you? Are your parents all right? And sometimes those open-ended questions will get them to sometimes open up to you because you care, or you've shown them that you care. But if you don't show them that you care, you're not going to get them to share anything with you.
Right, they won't feel safe to respond.
Yeah, they have to feel safe, and they have to feel like you care about their well-being because you're asking those questions.
Exactly,
you know.
Exactly. Now, another thing, let me ask you, Savannah, as an educator. My mother was a retired English teacher, but of course I didn't ever ask her anything about that. But let me ask you, is it acceptable to just come out and ask a child if they're being sexually touched? Or do you guys have to use keywords that would indicate whatever response they give is indicating that they're being molested? Can you just come out and say, well, Sally, is someone touching you inappropriately? Can you all say that or not?
No, really be careful with that.
And that's sad.
You have to be careful.
Workers and people in place for you to contact, and they'll go from there. So there's places in the school for you to contact that person if you suspect any type of abuse.
So what do they have in place at your school as far as, do they have posters? Or is there a bulletin board where the kids can read the bulletin board and get information about, you know, if you're hungry or you don't have a home or you're being abused sexually or physically? I mean, what type of communications do they provide for the students to contact someone?
So definitely they always have different workshops.
Okay.
And numbers for kids to call, or website apps to look at.
Excellent,
and also in addition to that, every school is associated with some type of, here we have like a county building where the social workers are and child protective services, so we definitely have contact with them. So if there is an issue going on, then there's a chain of command that we'll have to follow, but definitely have someone look into it.
So if little Billy or Sally came up to you and said, yo, Jamaica and Michael molested me down in the hallway, what do you do?
Oh, we reported immediately.
Okay.
So,
Okay. And it is, okay.
reported immediately.
Do you guys
Yeah.
call the authorities, or you take them to the principal's office? I mean, I know they have to go to the
So,
office, but
it varies from school to school. I actually work in different schools.
Mm-hmm,
So the first thing we will do, we'll contact someone at the school. It can be the security guard to take them down to the principal office, to the social worker, to the community liaison,
Mm-hmm.
whoever is there on place to talk to the kids, and then they'll go from there. But eventually, it depends. Parents may be called first if they're both minors.
mm-hmm.
And then the county may be involved. So it depends. If you're working in a high school
Right.
and they're adults, then I believe you can call the police. So it depends on the age
really?
of the children. But it's definitely in education, you're not alone. You're not alone. So if you do feel
So there is
or suspect something is going on, even if you don't feel comfortable, you have someone to talk to, whether it's another teacher you can tell, the social worker there, the principal there, the community liaison, call the county. It's so many people that you can call.
Okay. Okay.
So it's safe to say that you all have a support system.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Because what if they say, well, I don't want to go home because mom and daddy be touching me every night? Then, of course,
That's what CPS.
yeah, then they call
Right.
the authorities. So you
CPS.
definitely don't want to call them.
Right.
Child Protective
So they'll
Services.
definitely be called.
Goodness.
So there's a chain of command, and once you get into that, then that's more something like child protective services. And I know it varies from state to state what it's called, but the authorities
It's
are coming.
CPS here too.
CPS?
Yeah, Child Protective Services here in Georgia.
Okay. Because I think back
Yeah,
in Oklahoma it was Department
And
of
Cincinnati is Jobs Family Services, but yeah.
Wow.
So it's definitely things in place. A lot of things in place for the children. I believe children have more of a voice now than they
Oh yes,
have.
Thank
yes.
God.
Because it's something that is talked about. And it actually leads me to a question I have. So do you all think now, because we are in an era where it's like the Me Too movement, and a lot of people are speaking up and speaking out about different abuse they experienced in the past, and it's like everyone is for this movement. Well, majority everyone is for this movement. How do you think that will affect maybe a child or even adults or women, men who are becoming abused? Do you think this Me Too movement is helping to decrease the number of victims, number of case violations, assaults, or anything like that?
No.
Do you think that's effective at all? Okay.
And the reason I'm saying no is because the 90% of the people that are part of the Me Too movement, these are rich people. These are people with fame and fortune. My
Right.
call out for that is, what about us?
Well, this is us.
And that's what I say about,
But see,
what about us? That's what I'm saying.
This is us.
Because
the Me Too, we always say it's the rich and famous because they're splattering them all on the TV. You see what I'm
Yes.
saying? But there are a lot of, this is us.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Don't make it just a rich
Don't
thing
make-
because it's happening all. And
all
then those
over.
were pertaining to you being sexually abused because either you're going to get this movie role and you're going to perform oral sex on me, or you're not going to get this movie role.
Yeah.
That's to me what they're.
That's
That's
what
what they're
mostly
magnifying
do.
the Me Too movement.
That's what they
Is
do.
their professional thing, but. Us has been going on way before the Me Too.
Yeah, exactly.
You see what I'm saying? But
Exactly.
there aren't many people brave enough like Queen and I to speak out. Because mainly self-love, and they care about what society thinks. We don't care about what society thinks.
I don't.
We are not spineless women. Because again, most spineless people won't speak up even if it's something that's negatively
Yes.
impacting them.
Yes.
But when you have self-love, self-dignity, and you're understanding, after years of abuse that shouldn't be happening to you, then you speak up. But
And then you can, and then you're willing, just like you and I, we're willing to stand up on the soapbox and say, hey, this is what happened.
Exactly.
And this is
literally.
what happened. This is not what I am. This is not who I am, but this is where I came from to get me to where I am now.
And also, I want to pose a question Loria Harrell. She says, what about for the kids who are not in school? We had touched on that earlier, Loria. You may not have been on the line. And we were saying how, unfortunately, due to the coronavirus and kids being more so at home now, unfortunately, they are being abused more so now.
Yes.
You know, because school was their safe haven. That was a form of between 9 and 10 hours, because of course you got to give the time allowance for commuting.
Program.
Right, an after school program. Well, hey, thankfully it might be 12 hours.
Yes.
They were being fed and they weren't being abused during that time. So it's unfortunately them being home now, some of them are being more abused even more so. And that's what's very unfortunate. And Cece said, just as you mentioned earlier, an abusive woman is controlled mentally and can't leave. And that's true, because they condition you sexually to be abused physically, mentally, emotionally, and sexually to the point where you think it's okay.
Yep.
And you think like, again, I am unworthy. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day and they were beginning to start dating a doctor, and she was saying, oh, wow, I didn't think that I was in essence good enough to date a doctor. Well, you're good enough to date anybody, you know. So again, it's what you think of yourself.
Exactly.
You know, and again, a doctor, guess what? They can be just as nutty. It's only their profession. Just because someone has a great profession doesn't mean they are not a molester behind the scenes, does not mean they don't go home and beat their spouse, does not mean they do not go home and molest their children and beat up grandma, you know, or grandfather because they're staying there. Just because someone has a profession, that's just one aspect of their personality. That's just one aspect of their character. We have many aspects of our personality and character. Wholeheartedly is what you want to look at. How do they get along with the mama, the daddy, the auntie, the children? You know, are you trying to run a dog over across the street, but when it's crossing, are you going to slow down?
And it reminds me of one thing that was really important that I learned from my pastor years ago. He said these exact words: before you date anybody or get serious in a relationship or even thinking about marrying them, go to the family reunion and meet the family. Because you are marrying every one of those people that you see in that family.
That is
when
true.
you marry that one
That
person.
is true.
And you're sleeping with everybody that man or that woman that slept with when you sleep with that man or that woman. So let's be mindful of what we're doing and who we're deciding to bring in our homes, because I've seen it happen too many times. These men get in these women's homes and they take advantage of their children while they're gone away from home. It was a situation that happened a few years ago. This man was molesting this lady's child. He carried the child to the job to pick the lady up, and the child wouldn't say something. And this man had done killed this baby in the backseat, had him sitting in the backseat of the car. So we have to be careful, ladies, who we decide that we want to be a part of our lives, especially when we have male and female children at home.
Exactly. And as Loria said on here, Loria Harrell, she said it's about speaking up and speaking out.
Exactly.
And pray. And you
there's
know,
no secrets.
And you know, and again, someone said I wouldn't use the term spineless as trauma. Okay, I can accept that and apologize, you know, because that's true. They're traumatized. They're not spineless. So I apologize, TellUs fans and the world and society. It's not spineless. It's trauma. That's what Cece's saying. So again, hey, I'm so strong and non-spineless, I can admit that what I said was incorrect. So I don't mean to be offensive, but and I guess I meant that from the perspective as an adult. But again, when you're beat down mentally, you have no voice. You have no self-love. What were you going to say, Savannah? I'm sorry, honey.
No, the comment, two more things, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
When you just made the comment spineless, I don't think you meant it in a degrading way, but however, reality hurts.
Yes.
When someone takes your voice, when someone takes away from you the essence of who you are, they don't empower you, to degrade you, you do become spineless.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not.
Yes.
And I can say that. You don't have to say that. I can say, because it's not my show, so I'm not representing what you're saying. This is my words. That is a fact.
Right.
That's
and I definitely didn't mean...
We must empower someone. It all starts with the mind.
Exactly.
And so it kind of leads me to my next question, and my last question.
Okay.
What do you do when you know someone is being abused? However, you know if you call the police, they're going to protect that person. They're not ready. You know, I forgot what it's called when the victim or the person that's being abused, when they want to protect or think they love the person that's harming them, and they want to protect them. So what do you do when you want to help someone and they're quite not ready for that help, and then they'll defend them? Because I know a situation that I've heard of in the past where like a woman will love this man so much and he's beating her and abusing her, and they're just not ready at that point to let it go. So
well,
how
sweetheart,
can you help someone?
What you have to do, sometimes you have to allow a person to go through their pain and let them come through that pain and get through that pain on their own. You can talk to them until you're blue in the face.
Right.
And say, I'm here to help you. But until they really want to be helped, there's no help that you can give them. Because they don't know and understand that they are somebody.
Exactly.
And they're better than more and better than a punching bag. And they deserve to be loved. And love does not hurt.
Exactly. And they're just brainwashed per se. Some people, and we've all seen it in the movies, but I've actually heard a couple of people say in real life, they thought that if someone loved them, it was because they were beating them or abusing them.
My mom used to say that.
You know, they, but that's a different spanking. You know what I'm saying?
No,
but
they
usually
used to beat them, honey.
Yeah, but some people actually believe that they're only being loved when they are being physically abused like that. Well, Savannah, we really appreciate you for calling in, honey, and God bless you.
Thank you.
And I know you're there protecting all the children you're working with, so you keep doing that and watching out for them.
Yes.
We thank all the TellUs fans that are on here watching, also out there in TV land. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And those of you that are on here online that have posed your questions and comments, thank you. I know I got through all of them. Loria and Cece and TJ and Tamika, and then there were some others on here. So again, thank you for watching the TellUs TV show. We're broadcast every second and fourth Tuesday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. My body's hurting. I've been working out the past couple of days, so I'm trying to get rid of some of these happy little love handles here.
Yeah,
so it's been working out. But every second and fourth Tuesday, 9 to 10 p.m., TellUs TV show, where TellUs will be good to you just as the sound of this music is playing. So have a good one, y'all. Stay safe.
It's been real.
Tell on somebody. Thank you, Savannah. Bye, TJ, Tamika, Loria, all you guys. Love you.
See you later.
Have a good